Hello, thank you for tuning in to Artist Bios and Pitching Yourself workshop. I'm here, Natasha Clark, on behalf of Doncaster Creative Network, and this has been kindly funded by the Culture Grant from DCLT. I will jump straight into it, and this is kind of a follow along workshop presentation. So yeah, let's go. So in this workshop, we'll explore how to write a captivating artist bio. These are often requested from curators and galleries when exhibiting your work. And then how do we condense all this information down and all the amazing projects that we work on as creatives into a couple of sentences that you can easily pitch to any prospects or potential buyers? What we'll cover, so we'll get clear on what we do. So spend a little time actually self-reflecting on our practice, what inspires it, who is our target market, and then also how do you structure an artist bio, and lastly, how do we pitch ourselves to potential clients? So just building some confidence around talking about our practice, what we do, and who's it for. It's okay to be scared, but where do these limiting beliefs actually come from? You're gonna see lots of lots of cheesy like gifs in this presentation, so just strap in and come along. So what do I actually do? So thinking back on that previous slide as well, these limiting beliefs. What are typical limiting beliefs that you have as an artist or creative, which is really holding you back from coming forward and presenting yourself with confidence and talking about your practice clearly and concisely? And this could be a range of things. I know a lot of creatives feel really reluctant to even call themselves artists, because I feel like they can only call themselves an artist if they're doing it full time or if they're making like an income from the work, and all these different limiting beliefs, which is actually holding you back from stepping into your creative power and showing up the way that you should be showing up. So having a bit of time to think about, do any of those kind of narratives or voices come to mind when you think about putting yourself out there? Okay, so what do I do? Now, getting clear on what type of artist you are, what is your medium of choice, what do you make work about, and who do you make work for is vital when you want to talk about your practice with confidence. So again, sometimes that's where a lot of creatives trip up is, someone will ask them, oh, so what do you make work about, or what's your work about, and they'll just not know what to say, or they're working on lots of different projects, working with different mediums in different contexts and things like that they struggle to really sum up, okay, this is what I do in a couple of sentences and this is how I can help you. So yeah, having a bit of time to really reflect on that will help you get clearer and also help you build confidence when you get caught in those quick conversations. So I break it down to these 4 sections. So who's it for? So who do you typically work for? Or if you haven't had any clients before, you can think about who would you want to work for. So who could you imagine being like your dream client in a sense? So it could be schools, it could be a council, you could just want to stick with art galleries, it could be kind of direct to clients, so just going in people's homes and things like that. So who could you imagine working for, or who have you had a pattern of working for? And that can kind of adapt and change throughout your career, really. You can shift your positioning. And then the type of artist, so getting really down to the basics of what type of artist are you? Are you a painter? Are you an actor, an author, a singer? Because just calling yourself an artist can cover lots of different things. So getting specific on, okay, what am I actually honing in on? And you can have lots of different areas that you are working on. So I do this breakdown activity for each section that you see yourself fitting into. So, for example, for me, I do a lot of mural painting. So the type of artist I would kind of label myself is as like a mural artist. But I also do a lot of portrait painting on canvases. So I also could label myself as like a portrait painter. And I'd kind of do a separate breakdown for both of those titles, because my target audience for my portraits is going to be different from my target audience for my murals and street art. So yeah, amazing. And then medium, what materials do you work with? And context. So, and that basically means what inspires your practice. What is your practice all about? Could be about identity, feminism, spirituality, community, or could it be about like co-creation? That's an approach I really like to take with my practice, is having a lot of input by the community. So they basically help to form the design and the final piece. So yeah, fabulous. So we're first going to cover artist bios, and then later on we'll jump into kind of pitching and talking about your practice concisely. So a person working in fine arts, music, theatre, film, poetry, and literature may be asked to submit an artist bio for a printed programme, exhibition, or print press release. And it's helpful writing these artist bios because it gives you time and space to, again, reflect on your practice, the direction of your practice, who your practice is aimed at. But then you can also use that writing in all other different areas of your marketing. So you can use it on your website, you can use it on your social media, and on whatever other platforms that you're on. And your bio is about connecting with someone who doesn't know you, and it gives them a window into who you are. That's a cat looking out the window, as you can see. So why do you even need one? Again, I've just kind of covered that. It's good practice to get you thinking more critically about your work. It's handy to have one because if you're doing events, exhibitions and such, the curators and producers will often ask for one. And then it also helps to raise your profile as an artist. It shows that you're taking your practice seriously, and you've got a level of professionalism to what you do. So this is a really basic breakdown of what you can typically include in one. So where you're currently based, and then you can mention where you grew up if it's relevant to your practice, any art mediums or special techniques, the inspiration behind the work that you make, and then you can kind of finish it off with any biggest achievements. And also, if you are describing how long things take, I'd put the year rather than, so for example, since 2013, I did this and this and this. And then it means that when your artist bio needs updating, the year will still be relevant. That makes sense. Okay, and how do you write it? So the rule of thumb, most bios are written in third person, and it should read as though someone else has written it about you. So it's kind of a fun activity writing your own artist bio in third person, because it feels unnatural because you're talking about yourself, yet you're writing it as though you're not talking about yourself. However, when you are using them online, so on your website or your socials, it typically gets shifted into first person, so like I and me, and then because it just helps to build a better connection, like directly with your audience. And then you can also add in, when it's in third person, you can add in a quote that you've put together and things like that. So yeah, how long does it need to be? So there's different lengths depending on the different applications that you can use it for. So social media often is the shortest, and then websites a little bit longer, and then gallery exhibition is normally when you'll have the longest bio. I'm totally distracted by this dancing man. I don't know what this dancing man has any relevance to this slide, but hey ho, there you go. Keep it interesting. Okay, and this is one that I've recently pulled together, and I'll just quickly read it out for you. So, growing up mixed race in an all white household on the outskirts of Doncaster impacted Natasha Clark's perception of her own identity. Exploring this concept using paint, she manipulates the medium to form portraits of other mixed race women. These are then layered with florals and botanical elements as a representation of beauty and resilience. A playful approach to abstraction, Natasha uses this technique to add and remove information from the canvas, resulting in bold brushstrokes and enticing textures. I see myself in each of my portraits, the woman that I hope to be one day, strong, confident, and a celebration of Black and white heritage. Natasha's work doesn't just stay on the canvas, it also spans to walls and murals. You can find her work in Doncaster, York, and Huddersfield. Using a community led approach, Natasha works collaboratively with charities, councils, and organisations to deliver designs which create a sense of belonging and community ownership. Something that Natasha is driven by, as she often felt a lack of belonging when growing up. So you kind of can see how it ties my murals with my portrait art together. Now, you don't technically have to do that. You can have bios for completely separate areas of your practice. But I did want to see like how they relate to each other. And yeah, it kind of gives an insight into kind of exactly what inspires my practice, what are my portrait paintings actually about, how do I approach, like what's my approach to portrait painting. Like I'm quite like a messy painter, and I like making lots of different textures and things like that. So that kind of gives you a feel of it in work, even though there's no images of my work on here. You can kind of get a sense of the feel of it, and like in the previous slide, it's just a window into you, and yeah, and your work, and why we are artists. What is the drive? What is the voice inside which pulls us towards making what we create? We all have it. It's there. So now you can feel free to pause this here and take, 5, 10 minutes to pull together your own artist bio. So I shall let you pause and then come back and we shall move on. Okay. I hope it went well. Feel free to send me your bios as well. I've got my email and stuff linked in the description and at the end of this presentation. I'd love to learn more about what you do. And we also have a directory of local artists and creatives. So if you want to be added to that, we funnel work to local creatives that way. So amazing. So we're going to move forwards, and this is probably my favourite bit, which is putting together your pitch. So how we introduce ourselves can make a huge difference on creating that first impression. And as creatives, it's often difficult to sum up what we do in a couple of sentences. However, it's vital to have this memorised for when we need to give a short and snappy pitch to someone who doesn't know our practice. And I think this is equally important as well when we are talking to potential clients or other people who aren't necessarily an artist. Although I believe that everyone is creative in their own way, I think it's important that we're able to talk about our practice in a way which is accessible to people who aren't necessarily in that space. Because oftentimes we're very passionate about what we do, and we pick up a lot of language which is specific to our practice and our processes, and the way we create work. And this language is sometimes not known by people who are outside of that field. And so we can kind of confuse people and alienate people and all those things. So with this kind of pitch, we're going to go through really making it accessible to anyone, whether they're an artist or not, whatever field they're in. They need to be able to understand what you actually do. So an elevator pitch is brief, it's persuasive, and you can use it to spark interest in what you do. A good elevator pitch should last no longer than a short elevator ride, hence the name. So we've gone over earlier in this presentation, we went over those 4 points where we kind of broke down what we do. So we're going to refer back to that to help us write this pitch. And our aims of the pitch are to, 1, describe what we do succinctly. 2, who do I typically work with? And 3, how can I help you? And also, this is where you can show real passion and enthusiasm for your practice. It's okay to get excited, even though it can be really like anxiety inducing trying to sell. Well, you're not technically trying to sell your work, but you're just introducing yourself to someone. Even though it can be really nerve-wracking doing that, it's okay to get excited. I think if you lead with passion and enthusiasm, then confidence will follow. Okay. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So here's my example. I'll read through it first and then I'll break it down. So, hi, I'm Natasha. I specialise in murals and large-scale paintings. With this, I work collaboratively with a range of schools, theatres and councils to create designs which bring their visions to life. It's been amazing to see the impact that murals can make on an area, increasing a sense of community and shared belonging. Okay, so I'll break it down bit by bit. So, first off, I specialise in murals and large-scale paintings. So there's no certain exam that you have to take or a test that you have to sit in order to say that you specialise in something or you're a specialist in something. You can literally call yourself a specialist right now. So give yourself that authority to label yourself as that. If you're putting in the time and the effort in that area, call yourself a specialist, like you specialise in that area. So first off, I'm establishing authority by saying that I specialise in murals and large-scale paintings. And then the next bit, so I specifically say, and I say this to everyone who I introduce myself to, I specifically say murals and large-scale paintings. Now, for people who are familiar with street art, they know that a mural is basically the same thing as a large-scale painting. But not everyone knows what the word mural means. And so I'm not going to assume that people know the language that I'm using. So I'm trying to make my introduction as accessible as possible. So I just say both murals and large-scale paintings. So then if they're wondering, oh, well, what is a mural? They have a good idea of what it is because I've just said large-scale painting. Okay. And then the next bit. So with this, I work collaboratively with a range of schools, theatres and councils to create designs which bring their visions to life. So this shows who I work with. So schools, theatres and councils. So they can kind of see if they fit in any of those boxes or similar boxes. So they're basically qualifying themselves. And then I also talk about my approach. So I work very collaboratively and I bring their vision to life. So this is also acts as like a USP, so a unique selling point, because it's unique from other mural artists. Often, like the standard practice of mural artists is they have their own designs, they have their own style, and they have their own context of work that they like to paint or spray. It's not as common for mural and street artists to really get acquainted with like the community or the area that they'll be painting with, to work really collaboratively, bringing out their stories, bringing out the community's experiences, getting them involved with designing the mural, even getting them involved with painting the mural. Like, that's not how a lot of mural artists work. Whereas that's the approach that I prefer to take and go down. And so explaining that within my introduction helps me stand out. And then lastly, it's been amazing to see the impact that murals can make on an area, increasing a sense of community and shared belonging. So why is this service so important? You know, oftentimes art and creativity can be seen as a commodity, but I think, and I'll argue for it, that it's important and it is a necessity, and that it helps to create community and it helps an area. And yeah, people like to see nice things. And what is life without art? What is it? Not like, what is life without music, without art, without the theatre? What is it? Crap is the answer. So I'm basically advocating for why the service is so important, and you will get used to doing this, because as artists, we typically do have to basically explain our value a lot of the time. So it's something you just get used to, and you kind of stop feeling frustrated about. So yeah. And also the ending point as well is the area for you to get really enthusiastic and bring across exactly why you do what you do. There's a reason why you're doing what you're doing, which is deeper than just, oh, I like to paint a pretty picture. There's often a reason there why you've been pulled to this, because being an artist is probably the hardest thing you can do. It's difficult, and there's challenges and barriers and all these things. So you've been pulled to this for a specific reason. So tap into that energy. Okay, and now's your chance to practice. So yeah, feel free to pause this again. If you want to rewind a little bit to see my example, that's fine. So this again goes over what to put in your pitch. So our aims in the pitch are 2, 1, describe what I do succinctly, can't say that. 2, who do I typically work with? And 3, how can I help you? Showing enthusiasm and passion. Amazing. Okay, I'll give you a chance to pause, go over this. Fab. So we've reached the end. It wasn't too long, was it? It was nice. Nice length, short and sweet. And here is my contact information as well. So you've got the Doncaster Creative Network across all social media platforms, and then that's the email as well if you want to drop me an email if you've got any questions. And then if you want to find my social media, it's Natasha Clark Art in the bottom right. So yeah, leave a comment, drop me any questions. If you need any extra support, drop me an email. And yeah. Okay. Amazing. Bye-bye. I don't know how to end this. See you later. Follow us. Oh, I forgot to say, we have a directory as well. So please, I'll link that in the description. If you want to join it and you are local to Doncaster, you live in Doncaster, or you're kind of close to Doncaster, you're eligible to join it. And it's a super simple Google form, and then it gets added to the website. So I'll leave a link below. Amazing. Okay, dokie. Bye bye.